Hi, welcome to the second week of Ready Steady Read this August. I hope you've enjoyed last week's activities. If you have any hints or tips or anything that you want me to improve, or just comments in general, please do let me know because obviously this is a work in progress and I want to make it as useful for you as possible. But without any further ado, let's get started with this activity today. So first up, we have another listening activity because listening is the core skill of reading. If our kids can hear sounds and identify big sounds, they'll find it far easier to identify small sounds, like the sounds within words or phonemes. So, for example, dog has d, o, g, three sounds inside it. And if our children can hear, the sound of an aeroplane going past and identify it, or listen for instructions, they're far more likely to be able to hear the smaller sounds in words. So our activity this week is called Red Light, Green Light. And this is a great one, not only for getting our kids to tune their ears into the world around them, but also to help them with following instructions, which will absolutely help when they enter the classroom. So how do we play? It's a very simple one. I like to play it in the park with any little ones that you've got around, where if you say red light, they have to freeze. And if you say green light, they have to run. It's very simple to start off with. What I then tend to do throughout my school year is I then play this game at random throughout the day, whether the kids are inside, outside, whatever games they're playing, whatever's happening. Halfway through the class, I might just go, red light, and see who freezes. And the great thing is that once your children start tuning their ears in, they will freeze, they'll stop, they'll listen, but it's still a game. So they're like, oh, I remember what I've got to do. I'm just going to be freeze. And then green light means they can go again. And I tend to do this just, on and off every so often. But what's great is that when I then do need them to stop and listen for something important, I can say red light, everybody freezes, and then they're listening. So, there's a couple of ways you can play this. As I say, you can play this at the park. Just as an activity to get them active and running. You can play it in the house just to see if they can, and they might be trying to creep around when you're saying green light and then you say red light and they have to freeze and see if they move, then they're out or something like that. And if you wanted to, if you have older children, you could add in one called orange light. So red light, stop, orange light, walk, green light, run, or do things really quickly. So yeah, that's the activity for this today. This listening activity for this week. I'll get my words out eventually. But I hope you find it really useful, and I'll see you for the next activity soon. So this activity is all about fine motor skills. Now, we talked last week about gross motor, which is your core and your shoulders and your arms. And that's what sort of holds you up and gives you the strength to do your writing and to do loads of other activities in reception as well. So this week, we're talking about fine motor, which are your hands and your fingers. So again, when you're writing, you actually use your shoulder a lot because you're moving like that, but you still want to have control over your fingers so that you can move them like that. And as many of us know, if the muscles in your hands aren't used to doing it or they haven't done it for a while, they can get really, really sore. So by doing activities like this, you're helping your child build strength in their fingers and build up what's called their fine motor skills. Even if your child is really, really good at fine motor, I still recommend playing games like this because, as I have said many times before, it's like going to the gym. The first time you go to the gym, you can lift a 6 kilogram weight, and that's amazing. Brilliant. Maybe you can lift it over your head. Fab. But you don't just stop there. You keep practicing, you keep training so that next time you can lift 8 kilograms and so on and so forth. So even though, you can lift whatever weight you can lift, you keep going, you keep training. It's the same with our muscles in our hands. We want to keep them building, keep them working to make sure that they're strong enough to find all of the wonderful activities they'll be doing in reception as fun as they possibly can without finding it tiring or getting strain in their fingers. So this one is very, very simple. I've got a video showing you exactly what to do, but you essentially just draw a bunch of lines and get your children to follow them with their fingers. I recommend not just following with a single finger. Try and get them to use all 5 fingers. So they might follow with their little finger, their thumb, do it the other hand as well. So they're building up all of that strength. You can also get them to draw their own lines for you to then follow or for them to follow. What you might find is it does become surprisingly tiring if you're doing it yourself, particularly if you type at the computer all day because it's a different style of movement. But all of this is building up both finger control and control in their brains as well, because they're having to focus on all of this. This is actually an early stage of handwriting because they're working out what order everything goes in, how to follow the lines, and how that changes over time, which will then feed into, following lines to make letters and remembering the order that that goes in as well. If you wanted to make this into a gross motor activity, you absolutely can. It's very simple. You just take your piece of paper and you stick it on a wall. That way you're doing your arms as well, and your core. If you want to make it even better, stick it underneath the table so your child is upside down and using their fingers like that. And again, core strength, arm strength, all of that, gross motor as well as fine motor. You could make it into another gross motor activity by creating a great big line on the floor and getting your child to walk along it. That's then balance, core strength, all of those other things. So follow the line is a great one that can start with fingers but can build into all of the other areas as well. So that's all from me today. I hope you enjoy it. Hello there, I'm here with today's activity, which is a learning letters activity. And this one is called Letter Hunt. So this is the very early version of this activity. We will play it again probably later on with a sort of broader range. But this is a really great way to take the name recognition skills that we did last week and build on them. So one way you can do this is you can take the first letter of your child's name, remind them of what that letter is. We want to say sounds if we can. So in my case, my name's Jen. So the first sound would be J. I would say to my child, that's J, J. And we would go, okay, now our goal today is to see how many times we can spot this letter. Now, obviously, some people will find this easier than others. With a J as my start letter, it's very, very hard to find that out and about. So you may want to choose other letters in their name. You may want to use the letter of your last name, or you may want to expand this to a slightly different activity where you're just looking for letters in the environment. But let's say you have an S as the start of your name, or a slightly easier one. What you're going to do is take the flashcard. So you've got your child's flashcard. You say, okay, this is the letter that we're looking for. Let's go on a walk and see how many times we can see this letter. I do recommend getting out and about for this because it helps your child understand that letters and sounds are not just in books. They're not just inside. It's something that is everywhere and is really, really important that they learn. Motivation is a huge part of reading because learning to read is really, really hard. So if our kids can understand why they have to learn to read, and particularly at this early stage, they're going to find it far easier to maintain focus and to keep trying even when they find it hard. So what we want to do is give our kids their flashcard and go on a walk. I do recommend taking your phone with you or a camera, something that they can use to take photos. I tend to give my kids just my camera and see what happens. They get quite good at taking photos quite quickly. But every time you then see the letter, the first letter in your child's name, encourage them to take a photo so that you can take it home and be like, oh, look at all these things. Even if you never look at those photos, the act of taking a photo adds importance to it and helps your child be like, oh, this is something different that we don't tend to do. You can then, if you want to, talk about why those letters are there. What's the purpose of having all of this here? And you can expand on that and keep building upon that. But that's the general idea, is you're just taking your child out on a walk and helping them explore letters in the environment, and even more, helping them explore the letters in their name. Now, as I said, some of these will be harder than others. My name's Jen, starting with a J. Went on a walk earlier, could not find a single J anywhere. So I looked for E and N, because they're the other letters in my name. And all you might need to do is just write a flashcard with your child's name rather than, just their initial letter, and encourage them to find more. But you can absolutely do this. It's helping them understand that when they're learning letters, it's not just for internal, it's for the whole wide world as well. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoy this game, and I will see you next week.